I met Michael and I found that they have built DigiPast, an interactive experience that allows you to visit the Parthenon in Greece and also to discover through the eyes of virtual reality, augmented reality, and 3D reconstructions the amazing world. You can go there and in many language, but what I love is that they work with archaeologists. Just to give you an example, this was what it was found in a Roman forum in Cartagena, Spain. Now, if you use their app, you will literally see how it was really. This is not fake data. This is not a hallucination. This is the way to really do it. And you can travel to Kos, Cape Sonion, Olympia, and Acropolis. But then they were asking, well, it's good all what we have done, but with AI and generative AI, the world is changing. We're seeing people that are creating their own experiences when they visit a specific city. So, how we can balance the experience working with archaeologists with AI and specifically generative AI without falling for hallucinations. So, this video is going to be a recommendation for three tools that they can use today in order to find that balance. And the most important element is that the three tools are open source, meaning everyone can download it, put it in their computers, and run it. So you don't have to depend on VEO for video, you don't have to depend on Nano Banana, or you don't have to depend on ChatGPT. In this way, the tools that I'm going to show you today are going to be very useful for everyone that wants to create images, that wants to create videos, and that wants to create 3D elements. So let me know in the comments what you want me to cover for the next video, and let's go and see how MOPTIL and DigiPass could be transformed with these AI tools. We all enjoy using VEO3 to create the best videos. What if I tell you there is an open source large language model called 1.2.2 where you can create incredible videos and it could be in your own laptop, computer, or better on your own desktop with, of course, an incredible GPU. So I'm going to show you the key advantages that using WAN 2.2 and what tools you can use to run it today. Now, a key question about all these elements is that open source large language model allows you to download the code, implement changes, and most important, run your own experiments. That's the big difference. So, of course, what kind of RAM do you need to run them? Well, some of them need only 4 gigabytes of RAM. But to be honest, through all of our experiments, we have found that you need at least 48 gigabytes of RAM in order to build something significant. I know, my dear friends, some people have done things with an RTX 4090 from NVIDIA or even with AMD. But to be honest, it will take you many minutes just to create a couple of seconds. But check the level of quality of these two elements. Using the same prompt on VO3 and in one, you can have an interesting difference how they manage the physics, how they manage the colors, how they manage the images. And that's the advantage, and that's my recommendation for all of you. And if you're the people that are asking, okay, Francisco, but why do we need this in a world that I can just go to Gemini and get my 3 free videos per day? Yeah, but if you want to generate more videos, it will cost you 10 to 20 cents per second of video. So you want to generate 10 seconds of video, which will be something basic, you're just spending there $1. So the first part is you have to go to a tool called Comfy UI. Well, Comfy, it is difficult to manage, but the good thing is it's available for Windows and for Mac. And for Mac, from M1 to M3 and M4, you can do it. The disadvantage is that Comfy requires NVIDIA graphic cards. I hope that in the future they're able to put with AMD. So it's very simple. You download and start your configuration process. It will understand, choose where you want to install it, and then just start preparing all the elements. If you want to know more about it, I'm putting all the links in the description below. So I will always put automatic updates in the process. And there you are. Now, the good thing about Comfy is it has a lot of templates or examples that you can use. In this case, you can use the 1.2.2, either 14 billion, which is a text to video, or an image to video. And normally, just for you to have an indication, that we also have a 1.25 billion video generation, which is incredible. And I have to recognize that normally, when they're talking about the billions of parameters, the way that I handle is the following. If it says 5 billion, you need at least 6 gigabytes of RAM. Or to be more honest, you need at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. So if the model is 14 billion, yes, you can handle with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but I will recommend at least 24 gigabytes of RAM. Why? Because it could operate, but then it will be very slow, the operations. And then when you start defining all the elements, you can start playing around. So this is the first tool. The first tool is that you will put certain conditions, certain connections. I invite you to download, to test, and to connect. The advantage is that in VEO3, you just ask something and it will, because of the black box model, it will just generate that for you, but you don't know what happened. But here, because you have the Comfy UI elements, then you can really understand how to move things forward. And the advantage of all these elements is that by understanding how changing one specific characteristic, it will generate a new video, and therefore you will know what to change again. So, in this way, you will start reducing hallucinations. That's the most important thing. So, you can see how, in the example with the dog that is going around the city with his jacket, his yellow jacket, it has also camera movements. So this will be very helpful for companies such as Momdi or MOPTIL from Greece and your company, because you can start implementing these changes in a very simple way. Look the quality of the prompts that you're having. And what I like, remember, this is open source. So, with these elements in mind, you download it, you connect, and then you start running experiments. Now, I'm going to tell you about the other two tools that we're going to analyze today. This one, remember, is either text to video or image to video. And in other videos, I'm going to talk about the 1.2.2 animate, which I like a lot. But let me know in the comments what is your favorite tool and specifically what RAM do you need and how much you like Comfy, because I have to be honest, Comfy, it's complicated. The learning curve of Comfy is very complicated, but once you get it, the level of detail is going to be incredible for you. So that's the number one recommendation. Now, my dear friends at MOPTIL, you want to know about a tool that will allow you to transform an image into a 3D object? Well, this is the opportunity. It's called Hujuan. And also it's open source. You can download it and you can start running your experiments. What I love about these companies that are creating open source large language models is not only to compete with ChatGPT, but even to create things that ChatGPT is not even doing. Just try to ask ChatGPT if they can convert an image into a 3D object. They can, yes, but then it's not easy to use it in other platforms. So let me show you this example. Here, I can do image to 3D, text to 3D, or text to texture. Then I can import those images into Blender, an open source platform for 3D creation. So now I don't need to go directly with Blender. And in this case, you're seeing that we are implementing Gradio. So if you know the two most famous platforms in order to have this, either image generation, video generation, 3D generation are called Gradio and Comfy UI. Personally, I like Gradio because it's much simpler, but I want to show you something very interesting. When you read the terms and conditions, you have find out that Hunyuan was created also by one of the largest companies in China, by Tencent. And what I like about this is that they're thinking about people in many parts of the world. So look this. You just go to Hunyuan. These are the models, the descriptions, the mapping. Remember, I put the GitHub link in the description of this video so you can just go there. But it's very simple, guys. You just put the image, you can ask to remove the background, and you can either generate the shape only or the shape and texture. And what is the difference? Well, it depends on what you want. But look how, of course, in this case, I don't even need to have my own computer. I can use an online GPU at Hugging Face. So I'm also going to put you the link on Hugging Face so you can test it by yourself. You can buy space on their GPU. And look, because I create this Santa Claus, and now that we're in Christmas, it's perfect. Look how from the 2D they were able to map all the elements within the image. Isn't that wonderful? But most important, check what you can download, a white mesh or a texture mesh. And for people that have worked especially in Blender, they know how important it is for this. And look, again, you can see the processing time and then what type of GPU. Of course, for this one, you have to see the recommendations, but we have done tests even for with 4 GB. Of course, again, it's speed. You want to go much faster, then you can change the inference steps or the octi resolution and the guidance scale. The good thing about open source large language models is that you can modify those elements. Don't play a lot with the seed. That will not give you a lot of influence, especially when you're starting. Then you will know more about it. But what I like it, look, this beautiful giraffe. Now think as a company that wants to develop things. This is now a complete 3D object of that giraffe. And then we took it and put it in Blender. And you can see how beautiful is this giraffe in Blender. Then you can just put in many things. And I want to say hello to my friends from 3D animation, the creators of Animalario from Colombia, which I think they're one of the most talented teams in the world. And they won many awards, the Los Angeles Best Animation Award. And I think with these tools, are going to be able to move faster. Look how, while being in Blender, you can just export to other platforms and then integrate in other platforms such as ZBrush, or if you're a game creator, Unreal or Unity. So at the end, what it's doing is just making the things much faster for your life. You can play with the meshes. And if you're a very detail oriented person, you can just create something very unique. What is the best thing? This is free, this is open source, and you can do it in your computer right now. So now we're going to the third technology that the creators of DigiPass can incorporate today in order to integrate AI into their processes. Let's go for that. Now, if you're like me and you want to develop and create new images, you will use Nano Banana or Nano Banana Pro. But remember, each time you use a Nano Banana Pro, it costs a couple of cents. And you want to generate hundreds, it's going to be very, very expensive. So what if we can also create an alternative to Nano Banana with an amazing open source platform? Yes, I'm talking about Z Image. And the cool thing about Z Image is open source, available to download, and you can use it in your Comfy UI. as we discussed previously. So now the key thing is that you can compare the quality of the images, but also you can go to a platform called CVTI AI and download and understand how those images were created. So think about this. Alibaba, created by the great Jack Ma, thought, how can we compete with the Americans and launch a model at the same level of quality, speed, but most important, open source? Think about the implications about this. And when I talk about how Latin America and Africa could lead the AI race by 2050, I'm talking about this using open source large language model as the basis for everything that could be done. I want you to see the quality of the image. And the cool thing is that this model just needs 4 gigabytes of RAM. Of course, again, what is the recommended? Well, NVIDIA, 12 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes. If you can have 48 gigabytes, well, that would be amazing, crazy. But what I like think about this, when the Chinese created these models, of course they train it first in Mandarin, so it's optimal for that. But then they translate it, and because they learn from the open source language models from America, specifically from Llama, and later from Mistral in France, they started to incorporate other languages. So nowadays that you just need someone either to translate or to generate a poster and take hours are over. Think about the company that we're talking that they created DigiPast. Now you can specify and correct the mistakes that these models do. And why do LLMs make mistakes? Well, because they remember they're thinking about the next token. Therefore, they need to complete something. So no matter if it's real or not real, accurate or not accurate, they will just complete it. That's where the expertise from architects, from anthropologists, from photographers, and from artists are the ones that can identify the details, and that connection between the human really working with the AI tool in creating new type of experiments is what makes Gen Z, well, Gen Z like Generation Z, well, the Alibaba Z image, a great open source tool for generating images. And as you can see, different styles, so it doesn't matter. So again, the cool thing, you will find the information in the comments below. And now think about the tools that we have discovered today. If a project is serious about autonomy, independence, they should start to buy their own GPUs and increase RAM. RAM is going to become more and more expensive. No matter what people believe, now you can see in the prices. So this is a 6 billion parameter model. Again, they recommend, of course, comfortably with 16 gigabytes of VRAM or virtual RAM. And when I'm talking about that, the new computers will become, they will start coming with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and then if you want a little bit more, it's going to be more expensive. So think about that. But what I like is that now we can use the set image turbo, and also in the future, if you compare with Flux 2Dev or Quen Image, also it's going to be very easy to edit those images. So let me know in the comments below what type of LLMs tools are you using. Maybe we'll cover Flux 2.2 in next videos. But the key thing is that now, as a company, you need to start changing the perspective. No more VEO3, no more Nano Banana, no more ChatGPT. You can incorporate these models. You can use Hujuan for 2D to 3D, set image for text to image, and in the future image to image, and 1 2.2 for text to video and image to video. So the combination of all these three tools that I told you today is going to be incredible. think about that. Think about the possibilities of what you can do. And again, remember, you can either use Comfy UI or you can use Gradio. And I'm in the process of creating a new version of Gradio just to make things simpler because for me, I have to tell you, Comfy UI is challenging. But if you have the patience and acquire the learning curve, you can create amazing things from an image perspective, video perspective, and LLMs. Thank you very much. Subscribe for new videos. See you next week.